Before I start, I just want to let you guys know I am very sick at the time of me recording this first part. I hope my voice gets better, but until then, it will be even more grating than usual, and I apologize. It has been a good bit of time since I made an 86 video. 86 is either my favorite story or my second favorite story, trailing only behind Freerun. If I'm being honest, if I read the light novels, it probably would be number one. Weird thing about me is that for someone who does what I do, you'd expect me to watch and read more stuff, but I really don't. Anyway, the reason I haven't talked about 86 in a long time because I felt like I talked about pretty much everything I had to talk about. I really wanted to talk about 86's last few episodes, and I really wanted to talk about Hope, and I did those two. But I realized that there's one thing I haven't put as much emphasis on, and that is this show's characters, specifically the two protagonists, Shin and Lena. Now, in those two prior videos, I did talk a good bit about these two, and in that Hope video, I talked a lot about Shin. But honestly, I want to talk about them more. When I talked about them before, I felt like it was just a skim. I want to kind of give them the spotlight because they without a doubt deserve it. These two might be my favorite characters ever, honestly. Shin is my profile picture now on this channel, and he's a character I can't rave on enough about. He perfectly embodies this trope of character, and how 86 presents it just makes him so good. Lena, in just one short season, went on one of the greatest journeys I have ever seen for a character. What makes it so great for me is that she didn't have a 180, she just got better at what she already was, rather than changing, which is something I feel like I don't see that much. And to top it all off, these characters are not only among the best individually, they have one of the best dynamics I've ever seen. So let's start off with the Reaper, which, side note, is my favorite nickname for any character ever, I think. But before we start with this character himself, let's go over his trope real quick. Shin falls under what I like to call the strongest archetype, the archetype that features a character that is head and shoulders above everyone else in terms of strength. Think of characters like Gojo and Levi. These characters are often fan favorites for their super cool moments, as well as, for lack of a better term, aura. But where the trope really shines is with its emphasis on isolation and tragedy. People say it's lonely at the top for a reason. This trope is meant to embody that. That strength isn't always a blessed gift, but is oftentimes the worst curse to have. When you are this strong, you are expected to do everything, to always succeed, never lose, never fail. You are no longer held to the standard of being human. Whether you like it or not, you have transcended that. In Gojo's case, his insane gifts made him from his very birth more of a precious commodity rather than a person. Jujutsu Society saw him just as the bearer of infinity and six eyes, rather than Satoru Gojo the person. He would grow up into someone who many saw as a god, someone they couldn't dream to match, someone on just another plane of existence. The only person who saw him as Satoru Gojo, rather than the strongest, fell down a tragic path, in some part due to Gojo's insane strength. Even Gito felt alienated in some way from him, so Gojo would live out his life as a tool, hoping his students would break these norms and be able to live a better life after him. Levi was much the same. His otherworldly skills made it so that many of his allies saw him as someone above them, but a huge emphasis on his character was that because of his strength, he was not the one to fall. Instead, he had to watch countless of his comrades fall. Every single person he became close with died, and he had to watch them die, and he had to be the one to carry on their legacy. In that sense, Levi is very similar to Shin, but we'll get there soon. In the very first episode, we were introduced to Shin as someone with special status. The episode is even named after his call sign, Undertaker, a call sign that lives in infamy for both Sam Magnolian handlers and 86 processors. We were first introduced to the situation with the 86 as something so dire and brutal beyond our imagination, so hearing this guy be so special that he not only survives, but is put on this pedestal piques our interest. And when we first see him in action, he lives up to that, but we see something else too. He shoots his comrade. He did it to put him out of his misery as he was on the brink of death. This moment did two important things. It further established the hellscape the 86 live in, where killing each other is the most humane thing to do at times, and it most definitely established Shin as someone on a higher level than the rest. He was the one who put his comrade out of misery, and his comrades expected him to do it. He expected Shin to do the honors and carry him on. The story did an amazing job introducing Shin as the strongest character. It also established a touch of mystery with him in the beginning. He was very nonchalant and quiet. Even when his comrades were playing games or just goofing around, Shin was just chilling, reading books or farming and whatnot. But most notably, when the rest were upset over the new handler, Shin seemed like he didn't really care at all. He didn't seem resentful, but also not excited. He just went about business as usual, clocking in and clocking out. Very emotionless and stoic. And now is a good time to introduce our other protagonist, Bloody Regina. Well, she wasn't fitting that moniker yet, nowhere close in fact. I'm going to be jumping back and forth between the two as the video goes on to match what seems important. Originally, I was just going to solely talk about Shin, then solely about Lena, and their dynamic, but that just wouldn't really work. Lena's character archetype is something I can't come up with a name for, but it's the naive girl meets reality and matches it and then some. Yeah, it doesn't really roll off the tongue well, but bear with me. The other character off the top of my head that matches this is Yona from Yona with the Dawn, which is a great show by the way, I highly recommend it. Yona starts off as an incredibly spoiled and bratty princess, living the wealthy luxurious life where her biggest concerns are hair. Then she's suddenly thrown into reality in a brutal way and has to experience the horrors of the world. Now her hair doesn't seem like that big of a problem. She saw how many people were suffering while she lived in a palace. And in Yona the Dawn's sole 25 episode season, she went on a journey of being presented with the reality she has been ignoring her whole life to facing it head on. Again, watch the show, it's really good. And no, I haven't read the manga, which I should. I've heard it's ending pretty soon. Now back to Lena. She falls under this trope but a little differently. Lena also lived in luxury while the 86 were getting tortured, but Lena did not ignore this. In fact, she was the only one who gave a shit inside Magnolia. So you might be thinking, well then she isn't this trope, because she was aware of the reality and was already facing it. But she really wasn't in the beginning. While she was aware, she thought she was doing much more than she actually was. She thought just simply knowing and being nice is all that she needed to do, when that obviously is not the case, and our good friend Theo made sure to let her know.
You think that if you just act nice and talk to us every day, that it's some kind of substitute for treating us as human?
I think I've shown this scene every time I've made a video about this show because it is that important. At this point, Lena thought she was better than her peers, that just doing what really wasn't even the bare minimum was enough, when she of course really couldn't be much more wrong. She didn't even ask for their names. This scene did two main things. It gave Lena what she needed to hear. She needed to hear that she really wasn't doing anything and her pursuits required her to do much more and be much better. And it further emphasized the state of the 86. This was right after her death. A death of a character that we saw was pretty important. Kai was shown to be doing this for a while and be a cheerful and fun character, and she died brutally, with her last words being, "I don't want to die." Theo's outburst was a culmination of all of that. But notice how Shin wasn't the one to outburst. You would think the leader would be the most upset normally, but he wasn't. We'll add on to that in a bit, because the Lena part here was of course more important. After this moment, instead of crumbling into a ball and giving up, she decided to keep going. She realized what she was doing was wrong, realized she had to do better, and decided to continue her efforts despite everyone from every side saying it's worthless. And she would back it up as the story goes on, starting with just learning everyone's names. Even though they also hate her, she kept going. And even this early on, you can see the squad slowly warm up to her. Importantly, we see Shin's interest be piqued by her, not because of this, but the connection she had.
He's my brother.
For the first time in this series, we see Shin show a good bit of emotion when his brother was mentioned. Now I know this guy must be pretty important. We also learned that Lena actually met his brother Shu-Rei. Her father flew her over the battlefield and their helicopter crashed, which killed her father. Rei was the one who saved her. This experience, as well as her father's ideas, were what inspired her to be who she is today. Rei was so important to Shin as well. For a while, he was all he had. Their parents died early when Shin was just a little kid. Rei was just all he had around him. But of course, Rei had a little more significance. He outbursted at Shin, choking him. To Shin, he died that day. Sinead knows and died that day, and their Reaper was born. Rei's influence in both our protagonists was important, both for a plot and establishing connection between these two, and they even foreshadowed a romantic relationship early on. Now when I saw this scene at first, I was really upset. I was like, it's been 4 episodes, they've barely interacted, fuck off. Oh how naive I was. We'll get to that when we get to that, but establishing this connection was really important. Until now, they were just soldier and commander, but from this we know it's going to be more, and that was critical. Over this middle part of Core 1, we get further establishment of our protagonists. We see Shin, being the strongest. He was a badass in that Juggernaut, which side note, the Juggernaut action was really fucking sick. 86 is a mecha, and the 2 I watched prior had giant super over the top mechas. And I love the Avas and Nightmares, but 86's more scrappy and rustic Juggernauts were amazing to watch. That scrappy and rustic feel matched the 86's slugfest and struggle against the Legion, while still looking incredibly fluid because the animation is so good. And the sound design of these fights were also just incredible. Everything about the mecha parts of this show is great, especially when you have Undertaker piloting it. To be the strongest, you gotta have that moxie, and Shin surely had it. When you saw him in his Juggernaut with that sick ass skeleton Reaper symbol on it, you know he's gonna fuck some shit up. But we found out one more crucial thing about Shin, his special power. The Legion are not just robots, they are part sentient. They harvest people's brains for their computing units, and the person sort of lives on as a haunted Legion unit. Shin is able to hear the last words of his comrades from the Legion, and it's not like a whisper. It's dozens and hundreds of voices of final words firing at him at the same time. It's constant torture, something that is unbearable for most, but he has to bear it. Another curse bestowed upon him. Because of it though, he can hear and track where the Legion are better than anyone.
putting him higher on the pedestal of the strongest and further isolating him from everyone. This power emphasizes his role as a tool and weapon in combat and the Reaper Force comrades. Undertaker, or the Reaper, not Sinead knows him, which is why Lena was so significant even early on. She was the only handler he ever had to care remotely about him as a person, and that along with her connection with her brother intrigued him. He sort of opened up a little more to her. They talked frequently about tactics and stuff of course, but still they established a strong connection, which also shows progress for Lena gaining more trust and respect with her soldiers. The most significant moment for this was when the fireworks stuff happened. Lena gave her soldiers some fireworks through some classic military measures, and her squad accepted the gift, showing they saw her in a good light now. But more importantly, during Lena's ball, Shin called her, talking about the fireworks and future plans, and Shin asked a question that would define the entire series.
Will you remember us too, Major?
And Lena answered,
Of course I will. But before that, I won't let you die.
This question from Shin and answer from Lena defines the story and our characters. For Shin, his entire life he's had to be the one to remember. Even when he was just a little kid, he had to remember his parents. Then his brother died, leaving him all alone. And as he took up this moniker of the Reaper, he was the one burdened with carrying on the legacies of everyone that fell around him. So for the first time in his entire life, someone said they'd remember him. Someone else would carry on his memory as a person, not just his moniker. And that is so important. This story is all about tragedy, memory, and hope. This dynamic with our two main protagonists represents that so well. The end of Core 1 establishes and cements this dynamic and our two characters' direction. It was revealed that Shin's brother is a Legion unit, and that Shin, for his final mission, would set out to free his brother from that hell. Spearhead Squadron was assigned the formal suicide mission, so he knew now that it was time. Shin has gone through so much and carried on so many people. One person he has yet to carry on is his brother. That was his one goal left. And in an insanely well done fight sequence, Shin was able to accomplish that goal, freeing Rei from his hell, carrying on that last person he needed to, living up to his moniker and reputation. But he wouldn't have been able to do this without some help. On the other side, Lena fought back against everything and everyone to help her squad. Her best friend Annette had finally snapped at her. Annette was actually childhood friends with Shin before all the 86 were shipped off, but she was part of the research for the para raids that tortured the 86, and she had been drowning it in guilt and self-pity. Seeing Lena care so much for the 86 has been pissing her off the entire time. She knew all it would end up in is death anyway, so what's the point? So she told her best friend Lena off and told her to never see her again. The Lena of episode 1 would have heard this and curled up in her room and cried, because that Lena had not seen what the reality is. She was not ready for the moment. But this Lena has seen the reality, got her ass kicked by it, and got back up to keep going. So this Lena did not back down at all. She came back and this time told off her best friend, saying if you don't help, you're failing your old friend twice. And Annette responded,
You're the devil.
That's right, Officer Penrose.
So Annette ended up helping her, providing a crucial airstrike that saved Shin and the rest. While it wasn't official yet, I think here's when she earned her moniker Bloody Regina. Well, I guess not yet, because she got it with the supposed death of her squad and how she responded. After Shin and everyone went ahead, Lena was distraught. She tried so hard to save the squad she loved so much, to have them live happy lives, eventually seeing fireworks and being able to live without fear. But despite her best efforts, she failed. And again, the Lena from episode 1 would have completely crumbled and gave up, especially seeing the old squad base and what they left her. She would have probably quit her post and spent the rest of her life wallowing in self-pity and ending up much like Annette did. But no, she used it as further inspiration. She would get her squad to see the other side, carry them on like Shin had done for so many. Her determination and resilience kicked into another gear, and here was really when Bloody Regina was born. This level of development in this short amount of time is unbelievable. From the naive and clueless Major to someone willing to fight against anyone, anything, at any time to carry her squad on and fight for what they believed in is incredible. Her interactions with her squad and her foundation were what allowed this to happen. Having her be slapped with reality so early on was the key, because she spent the rest of the time learning how to be better and implementing it. That's how she got on this path, the path forward. However, Shin was going on a different path, because Core 1 ended with Shin doing a solo suicide run, and at first, We thought, did something happen? Why would Shin leave his squad to do that? Which leads us to Core 2 and the Giad Federacy. The remnants of Spearhead Squadron were rescued to the Giad Federacy, where the President Ernst tried to get them to live a normal life, and introduced us to a pretty important new character, Frederica. But obviously the squad could not live a normal life. All they've known is the battlefield. How could they possibly now leave it, especially when their job was not done? So they joined this new military to fight the Legion once again. For our purposes, Core 2 is all about emphasis on our characters. The first core established and cemented their character and their paths. This core is going to emphasize all those crucial elements and Shin and Lena's connection. As Shin joins his new military, it is clear that there is something off with him. Yes, a lot has gone on. Even compared to his comrades, he seems off. Shin is done. He's done all he has wanted to do. His friends still want to go on and live, showing the gap between them that has always existed. Despite the camaraderie and love Shin has for this group, they have always been on a different level than him. The new character, Frederica, has a slightly special connection to Shin. She had someone very special to her named Kiria Nozen, the same last name as Shin. Like Shin's brother, Kiria turned into a Legion unit, and Frederica wants to free him. Shin also reminded her of Kiria, and they had this little sibling-like dynamic throughout this part of the story. But despite this seemingly fresh start, for Shin, everything was the same. He still fought the Legion, he still was sent out to the battlefield, people still looked down on the 86 even outside their former hell, and he was still the Reaper. His world was still the same, and you would really get to see that with Eugene. Eugene was introduced as this nice upbeat dude who joined the military to help his sister. He was among the few who got along with Shin and who saw him as someone trustworthy. So just of course he had to die. He died very early on, which told us, the audience, that 86 is still 86. Brutal and horrific. And it also proved that Shin was still the Reaper, because he had to finish him off as he had done with countless others before him in the 86 sector. So our two main characters were both going on the same path of continuing who they were, but Lena was moving forward while Shin was moving backwards. Being the Reaper was a burden he thought was over when he freed Rei, because he thought he wouldn't be around much longer than that, but he ended up surviving, and that meant he still had that burden. A burden he really can't bear much longer. He did have one sliver of hope left though, and that involved his former handler. Lena was the only one who gave him hope, the only one who really got to him. That's because Lena could remember him, carry him on like he had done for so many others. As much as Shin cared about his current friends, they were clearly on other worlds from each other. No one could get to Shin except for Lena, but that sliver of hope would die for him as he heard the Legion struck San Magnolia, burning it down. For all he knew, she's long dead, and he has yet another person to carry on. This scene here perfectly conveys that, showing how nothing has changed, how even here he's getting sent to suicide missions, how all his former comrades haunt him every day, and how Lena, his one last hope, would join them. It is such a beautiful scene with the colors and the divide shown. It's flawless and does not get talked about nearly enough. It perfectly conveys Shin's isolation. Now of course, Lena did not die. She was too busy being an absolute badass to die. She got every single 86 to help hold their ground and survive. Lena became so respected that the 86, a group of people who had only suffered unimaginable torture because of the Republic, came out to answer a call to defend their hell. That's just so fucking good. Her journey to become the Bloodstained Queen because of her former squad is unmatched. Plus that red streak in her hair is so cool. I just really love Lena, guys. I even have a figure of her. Anyway, going back to Shin, since he thinks Lena is dead now, he truly has nothing to live for. He's freed his brother, the one person he thought could save him was dead for all he knows. There's nothing left for him, he puts it better than I could.
I don't want to see the ocean like you guys. There's nothing I want to do, or any place where I want to go.
Yet another clip I've used in my two previous videos because it is so important. It perfectly encapsulates how he feels at this point, and explains why he was going on full-on suicide runs that ignore every order, because there really is nothing left for him. It all stems from his isolation and trauma that comes from his role, and it finally all boiled over. Even when Raiden, someone who's fought alongside him the longest, tried to talk sense into him, it really wasn't that effective. The story has laid down the groundwork for Shin's isolation from episode 1, and adequately built up to this point. In my opinion, Shin is the best of his trope, but not just because of this, it's also because how the last stretch of episodes concluded. I have made a video on Justice Stretch before. Wait, it's been a year since that video came out? Jesus, that just doesn't feel real. Anyway, this is some of my favorite stuff to talk about, so I'm going to talk about it a little. This time I'll skip over the action stuff because it isn't important for our purposes, but it is really cool. The important part of the battle sequence is that Shin thinks his whole squad is dead, leaving him as alone as possible. Nevertheless, he defeated Kiria and his giant zombie railgun, but after that everything sunk in for him. Kiria even told him in his last words that they're the same. Both of them have nothing left, which perfectly cuts to this awesome sequence showing Shin getting left behind by everyone. Everyone died before him, leaving him all alone. From the people we saw in episode 1 to now, all of them are gone. And Shin really wanted to die. Who could blame him? But just as he was about to get killed, his shining light saved him. Now my friends, we really get to see our two protagonist dynamic shine through. A dynamic that's built up just from the connection array. The foreshadowed silly romance, the conversations about the future and their hopes, finally gets shown the spotlight. Now this is like my second favorite moment from anything ever, with the first being from this very show, which I will talk about in like a minute or two. This whole conversation about Lena's path and how she's taking it, how that fully redirects Shin's path, because his hope didn't die, that there was someone carrying him on, and that he wasn't so alone. His worldview gets flipped upside down from that, and the final push for that was the best quote from this show.
And if you ask me, that's something you should be more proud of.
The idea that just getting here, regardless of how you did it, is something to be proud of. The progress you made through your efforts. Lena will know that the best. She has to work slowly to gain the respect of the 86 and truly try to make change. You have to be proud of your progress, of just getting to where you are now. And those words were the tipping point for Shin. Finally letting go of his past thoughts, seeing that there is another path for him. Him dropping his brother's ship is the perfect symbolism for this. And going on another path, not alone. That plus the payoff of this finally being what our two characters meet, it does not disappoint whatsoever. In fact, it exceeds expectations. I can't not rave about this scene. Its execution is bar none, and visually it looks perfect. As well as this music, it's just so good. It truly is a perfect scene that's only fitting for our perfect protagonists. But I did say that this was only my second favorite scene, so let's talk about my favorite. Well, before we do that, I want to point out the nice little moments they gave our characters before they meet. Lena continuing to move forward to advance her broken and tainted nation, despite being so far off. Annette completed her 180 to join Lena in helping because of Lena's incredible leadership and resilience. On Shin's side, he finally was excited to live for the first time maybe ever. He now knows his moniker and status isn't just a burden, it's something to be proud of, and he owns up to it in a different light, as a symbol of resilience and hope, rather than a curse of trauma and heartbreak. Now we do get to talk about the unmatched reunion scene that was perfect from start to finish. I cried watching this for the first time because the payoff was so good. Everyone deserved this moment. We saw them go through so much to get here, and we get to see that seeing Fido's memories, and just holy fuck is it just really good. It concludes with Shin and Lena standing together as equals, as allies, as people incredibly special to each other, and that's the best way to end it. These two did so much for each other. Without each other, they would not be anywhere close to where they are now. They were the driving forces for each other's development and change. They deserve to be standing side by side and face anything standing in front of them together, because of the groundwork this show had from episode 1, showing Shin as a stoic and nonchalant OP soldier, and Lena as this naive and clueless major, and see them both grow. Shin to a hopeful man for the future who is no longer alone, and Lena to someone who doesn't give up and is capable of enacting change through the respect she garners. 86 truly is a perfect show in my opinion, unmatched in terms of quality and care. They knew exactly how to execute these characters, and they were done perfectly, matching the story's messages of hope, resilience, and companionship flawlessly. They could not have been more perfect. Now if I only read the light novels to see their relationship, because I bet this romance is the greatest romance I will ever see. Hopefully one day. But for now, I appreciate what I have seen from these two and what these two have meant to me this far.